I'm so happy to be here tonight with Louie Schwartzberg. I'm Kathy Van Espen, the Golden Door. This is our speaker series. Thank you all for being here with us. Louie Schwartzberg is the only cinematographer in the world who's been shooting time-lapse film for 24 hours a day. Imagine this, 7 days a week for over 3 decades. Imagine, I have to get goosebumps, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 30 years, give or take. Every single day.
Give or take a decade.
Exactly, give or take. And when you see the art, you'll understand. Louie is my friend, and he's credited with many pioneering the contemporary stock footage by founding Energy Film Library, a global company, which was acquired by Getty Images in 1997. His recent theatrical releases include the 3D IMAX film Mysteries of the Unseen World, and you must see Wings of Life. If you've not ever understood the world of pollination through the voice of Meryl Streep, amazing film on Netflix. It's called The Wings of Life. You did not learn this in grade school. That's all I can tell you.
It's G-rated sex.
I'm only telling you, this is stuff you have never seen in your life as far as how the plants actually attract the bees and attract the insects to pollinate themselves. Fascinating. Louie Schwartzberg is an award-winning producer, director, and cinematographer whose notable career spans more than 3 decades, providing the most breathtaking imagery for feature films, television, and documentary and commercials. Anytime you see, and you're going to see his art tonight, anytime you see something like this, it takes a very special artist to have the patience to wait for a plant to be in the ground, to actually come out of the ground and become a plant and film that entire life of that plant. That's a very special artist, if you can imagine. So I thought what we would start is with our first film.
We are all born with a sense of wonder. Sometimes it's triggered by astonishing feats, monuments to mankind's capabilities, extraordinary talents and gifts, or scientific discoveries that push the boundaries of comprehension. But more often, we experience wonder by truly seeing the world around us. Wonder and awe allow us to transcend the ordinary. Even to test our concepts of time and scale. We are overcome with a sense of being small in a grand universe. We're unaware of past or future. We are, as they say, in the moment. We use the word breathtaking to describe it because it actually takes our breath away. Wonder inspires us to open our hearts and our minds to engender gratitude.
You once said, the world is either too slow, too fast, too small, or too vast for the human eye to see. When did you say that, and what made you say that?
Well, I'd like to take people through portals of time and space, and actually our normal human vision is one way of looking at the world, and other ways of looking at the world are through the eyes of a flower or a hummingbird. And so if you can experience it from their point of view, it definitely opens your heart, makes you more compassionate, makes you realize we're arrogant and that we have only one way of looking at things. So that to me makes you present. And when you become present, it engenders gratitude.
Did it change you?
Oh, major.
How?
Yeah.
How? That would be interesting to hear.
Well, because I think life's passion is to unveil the mysteries of life. And so if I can use my camera to slow things down or speed it up, gives me insight. I think that it's like that intersection of between art and science is wonder. Like, what is that bee doing? Vibrating on that flower. How does the pollen come shooting out? And then the science behind it is really amazing as well, because it gives you more insight into it. And now, I know when I walk by a flower, and many people have said to me when they walk by a flower, they'll never see it the same way again after you've watched it in time lapse. And so
that is very true. Describe to us what that was like to sit there, and I've seen some of your work in your studio, but let's go to the outside world where it's not so studio friendly.
Yeah.
What was that like to film for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 30 years?
Well, most of that time lapse of flowers that has gone on for almost 3 or 4 decades is in the studio, but a lot of the moments we capture, like with pollinators, we do outdoors. And it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of observation. Again, I love the fact that observation and patience is the crossroads between art and science. Because basically we're just trying to, answer the big mystery, but we have two different ways of storytelling. One is very didactic, and one could be more creative. So for me, it's just like, I'm just like a child, because curiosity, it inspires you, and I love exploring the most simple things. I mean, with the flowers, most people don't know that a flower turns into a fruit, right?
No, they
it's
don't.
surprising.
I don't think most people understand when you look at the world of pollination, what really goes, the story, because we have this one part in your film, I want you to describe it to our guests, in Wings of Life, where the flower is actually creating a sac of liquid.
Oh, yeah.
I would like you to explain it in your words.
Okay.
It is incredible.
So we shot a sequence in Panama, which we were really fortunate to be able to capture outdoors. So there's an orchid bee, and it only has one partner, which is the orchid flower. So the orchid flower opens up, and as it opens up, it fills with water. The orchid bee wants to get perfume that it scrapes off the flower so it can find a mate, a female. As it's scraping this, perfume off the flower, it falls into the bucket. And it almost drowns. There's only one escape route, which is like a hole in the back of the flower. And as it tries to wiggle through that hole for survival, the flower glues its pollen sac on the back of the bee. And the bee barely gets out alive after being squished in there for about an hour. And like most males that go from bar to bar, he just goes to another flower, does the same thing all over again, trying to score some perfume so he can get him a girl, falls into the bucket, almost drowns, crawls through that hole, and this time the other flower pulls the pollen sac off the back of the bee. And then that's fertilization.
Amazing. This is on slow-moving photography, by the way.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You have to see
We
it.
might get a glimpse of it in the next
Yeah, I
clip.
think we might. I think we once said beauty is a way to engage our senses, to fall in love with things in order to protect them.
Yeah.
Take that a little bit farther.
I think that beauty is like nature's score that drives us to do what we do, which is mostly wants life to flourish. So that means that beauty, gets the bees to go to certain flowers based on color. I think it helps us figure out which, mates we want to have. And that again is DNA moving forward. And because life wants to flourish. And by doing that, once you fall in love with that process and you fall in love with nature, you fall in love with the trees, you will protect it. That's why you love your children. We're hardwired to do that. And puppies are cute, and kittens are cute, and babies are cute, right? They're all cute because we want life to flourish. The monarch story is a mind blower because they winter there. You guys from Florida, you know the stuff. They fly south to Mexico. They're there from November to February. And then they fly north back to Canada. They reproduce along the way. Their grandchildren make it to Canada. And that last butterfly, the grandchild, flies all the way back to Mexico to the same 5 acres that its grandparents left like 8 or 9 months ago. And nobody knows how they do that. 2,000 miles back to the exact same place, regardless of wind, weather, all these variables.
You once said, "I hope my films inspire and open people's hearts. Beauty is nature's tool for survival. You protect what you love. If I can move enough people on an emotional level, I hope we can achieve a shift in consciousness that we need to sustain and celebrate life." But aren't you taking this now a step farther, even as far as healing?
I'm trying to. I've found that a lot of comments we've gotten from people have claimed the fact that they were suicidal, they were getting over surgery, cancer. 2 sets of parents have written me saying they have a child with autism and it helped have a major breakthrough. So it's kind of obvious to me that nature's energy, rhythms, and patterns are reflecting everything that's happening inside of every cell of your body. And that's what you're connecting with. And if you can get into that vibration, it is a healing modality. We've become disconnected from nature in the last couple hundred years, and that creates the psychological and physiological problems which are well documented.
You know, we're going to shift gears just a bit, something equally more exciting, I think. I'm going to go to something I'm very thrilled to be a part of. In 2015, I think it was, you launched on Kickstarter. I think it was 2015. We launched on Kickstarter, which those of you who don't know what Kickstarter is, it's a wonderful place to incubate ideas and gain funds from the public. And Golden Door was one of the sponsors of the launching of his film, The Fantastic Fungi. And I've learned a lot about this. As he knows, my daughter is a scientist in this field. And what we do not understand about mushrooms is incredible.
Yeah.
They are the life force of soil and the world.
They make
I've
soil.
learned they make soil. And so we're gonna kind of branch from flowers. We're gonna take you into the world of mushrooms and show you things you cannot possibly imagine of how they literally are in charge of the earth.
Yeah.
And I give you the one thing which you know, mushrooms are much like people. They breathe in oxygen
Right.
and breathe out carbon dioxide. Most people don't know that. They do not photosynthesize.
Yeah.
They live on sugars through the soil.
Right.
And they actually operate much like a human in the sense they're processing carbohydrates and sugars. Did anybody, you'll know that? They actually breathe in oxygen, out carbon monoxide, and use the soil as their energy.
Yeah.
Fascinating little plant.
So-
right? Who knew? Right?
They're their own
Very
kingdom.
interesting. They're
which
their
is
own kingdom.
Their own kingdom. And we actually evolved from fungi like billions of years ago. There was like plants and fungi, and then out of fungi branched animals.
Yeah, there's
So-
tons of research going on here now.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And then again, the mushroom is the fruit. Underneath it is a mycelium, which is the largest organism on Earth. There's a patch in Oregon that's like 2,000 acres, and a recent article came up. They found fungi beneath the igneous rock beneath the ocean, which could be even bigger.
Incredible.
So it's the largest organism. It can heal you, it can feed you, shift your consciousness. It can clean up oil spills, and guess what? It could be the greatest natural solution for climate change.
It's amazing. How did you get involved with this? You've been involved with flowers. How did it come to you to do a film
Well, I
on
keep
fungi?
on going deeper and deeper.
No, I know. It's
into
so
the
interesting,
rabbit
and
hole.
but it's so right. The timing is amazing.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
a
we
very
need it.
big conversation right now.
It is. It's really important.
Well, let's go.
Let's look at a clip. Hi, my name is Louie Schwartzberg. I love to take people on journeys through time and scale, exploring the worlds that are either too slow, too fast, too small, or too vast for the human eye to see. The next film I want to make looks into the biggest question of all. What is the foundation of life on Earth? 1/3 of the food we eat comes from a pollinating plant. But plants need soil, and where does soil come from? It comes from the largest organism on the planet that can heal you, that can feed you, that can clean up a toxic oil spill, and it can even shift your consciousness. It's mycelium. Mycelium is the root structure underneath budding mushrooms. It's like the internet, a vast underground exchange network that transfers nutrients from one plant to another.
Fungi generates soil that gives life. My mission is to discover the language of nature of the fungal networks that communicate with the ecosystem. And I believe nature is intelligent. The fact that we lack the language skills to communicate with nature does not impugn the concept that nature is intelligent. It speaks to our inadequacy for communication. If we don't get our act together, not only will we destroy those organisms, but we will destroy ourselves. We need to have a paradigm shift in our consciousness. What will it take to achieve that?
Mushrooms have very unusual chemistries. They have molecules not found elsewhere in nature. And the uses for them fill niches for which we really don't have anything in Western pharmacology, like enhancing immune function or helping the body defend against cancer in ways that are not harmful. There's some that have totally unusual properties, like lion's mane mushroom that has nerve growth factors in it that may be useful for people with degenerative nervous system diseases. So it at least should inspire larger studies.
We're trying to understand how to make the forest resilient to stresses that are coming up. So not just looking at the fungi and the plants in isolation, but how they are behaving in the whole system.
If you knew that every breath you took could save hundreds of lives into the future had you walked down this path of knowledge, wouldn't you run down that path of knowledge as fast as you could?
Well, how did you get those photos underground? How was that done?
There's a transition. Well, which ones? There's a. Okay, right. Well, some of it is like with glass, soil, and time lapse. But there's a couple of shots where I did that pan down from the mushroom into the roots, where we actually transitioned to CG animation only for that one moment. But the rest of it is microscopic fungi. I mean, the mycelium is only 1 cell thick. By the way, 20% of your body is made up of fungi. It's in your gut. Without fungi, you wouldn't be able to digest the food we had tonight.
And there's new ones growing up every day.
Yeah.
As they're getting discovered all the time based on the environment. The mycelium and the mushrooms are changing as we're sitting here.
Yeah. They have external stomachs. We have internal. So they put out enzymes. And those enzymes are like chemical startups that no matter what they encounter, they figure out a way to evolve and to combat it. That's why they're very effective in fighting disease. Penicillin saved more human lives than any other medicine in the history of mankind. So they're brilliant strategists at chemical warfare.
Amazing. Mycelium recyclates organic matter, but also breaks down rock.
Yeah.
Who thought a mycelium mushroom would be breaking down rock? And without mycelium and fungi, we would be drowning in organic matter. But more importantly, we wouldn't have the bedrock of soul from which all life arises from, which is coming out of your film. Where are you doing most of the work on this film, physically?
Physically, well, mostly in the studio in terms of shooting the mushrooms, which we have to do indoors, and the mycelium and all the microscopic fungi. And then a lot of exteriors with these experts. Mm-hmm. Susan Simard, a wonderful woman, she came up with the idea of the mother tree, which, by the way, James Cameron took that idea from her, which is like the core of Avatar. You take that out of Avatar, you have a crummy movie, right. Not the most successful movie of all time, because it's the spiritual soul of it. She basically figured out she put radioisotopes in a tree over here, and then discovered and tracked it underneath, that goes into the roots, and then into this internet under the ground. And through that internet under the ground, it shows up in another tree over here. So there's a communication network. In addition, she found out that the mother tree favors her children. Wow. And will nurture her children and give it more sugar or shade. Or if she's attacked by a pest or a virus, she will warn that child to move further away. So one of the most amazing things about mushrooms, I'll say the most amazing one is maybe climate change. Because in a partnership with trees, the tree takes in the CO2, right? We all know this in school. Oxygen's released. Carbon now, they found out, goes down the trunk of the tree into the tip of the roots and is exchanged in this exchange network, a shared economy under the ground, no greed, where nutrients are traded from plant to plant, nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. So that's how the environment the atmosphere can be cleaned up quickly and naturally, if we stop polluting. That's a hypothetical. So that is extraordinary. The other extraordinary thing, it's kind of funny, in the last couple of days when I think you guys read the flyers, I've had some people come up and go, oh, it's gonna be about magic mushrooms. I used to do mushrooms back in the day. And I think it's great. I think it's about time we come out of the closet on it. There's extraordinary research being done with psychedelics at the most prestigious medical schools, Johns Hopkins, UCLA, and NYU. And it's fascinating that kind of in the cycle of life, like the 60s is when I guess some of you guys were talking about your mushroom experiences, that in these times of like breakdown, there's also breakthrough.
We're going to jump to this next film. It is quite extraordinary.
Louie and Travis asked me to get involved because I've been doing films about pollination, and pollination is the foundation of life. And I think they want to use that as a culmination because it's the little things in life that make the world go round. We're going to pollinate the world with beauty. And we're going to fertilize the world with love. That's what the bees do. That's what we all need to do. This is heaven on earth. Because when people say, oh my God, it means that the flowers make you present, it connects with your soul. And that is transformational. Oh my God.
You are such an incredible visual communicator.
Thank you.
I want you to talk a little bit about how this took place, but your work is just getting better
Oh, thank you.
and better.
Well, this was very emotional for me. My parents were Holocaust survivors. So when you think of the fact that I could come back and shine light and beauty on the Vatican, given that they were silent during World War II, was an extraordinarily powerful moment for me. I think it's an indication that things can change, gives me hope, and the optimism we need to go forward. But I think we have to be vigilant, especially in these crazy times.
How about, are you going to get to show this in the U.S. like this? I mean, it was just such a powerful image.
Yeah, I'm saving it for something special,
Okay.
so I'm not sure where it's going to go, but it was extraordinary.
It's so powerful that it would be nice if we could have that visual in America. This is an American artist, and the place that we showed that beautiful art was in Italy. And why wouldn't we find that same wonderful respite here, where we all need that love, and show it on one of our buildings?
Yeah, and we've also projected on the UN right before we went to the climate change as well. So what's great about this, it creates public awareness, and that's what we need, obviously, when we have these critical issues like being involved in an agreement that I think we're the only, us and Syria and Nicaragua are the only countries that have not, signed the climate accord. It's really bad company to be in,
Well, using time-lapse cinematography, you were able to open up and reveal the beauty and movement of these hidden worlds that surround us in an attempt to better understand their connection to the planet and ourselves. As you have taken this product to different people and companies, have you seen the companies become kinder?
I think so. I mean, one of the big benefits, I think, has been social media, because my 3 TED Talks, which have these montages, have 50 million views. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that this kind of imagery, if I were to pitch it to a network or a cable station, it probably would be rejected, for sure. No celebrity, no host, no old-fashioned story of anxiety and fear or violence. We need a new story. We need a story that's not predator versus prey, but not survival of the fittest, but survival of the kindest. We need a feminine point of view on nature.
Nurturing, yeah.
Because the old story isn't working and it's part of the past. So that, like the pollination film, it's all about cooperation and beauty and nurturing and relationships, which are the tools we all need to be successful in our business today, correct? It's not about, knocking your if you're doing a deal, you're not trying to take advantage of people. You're not trying to screw them. You're not trying to make as much money as you can. It has to be a win-win situation.
That's right.
That's the law of nature.
That's right.
And that's what I love in these stories, is that you see that everybody's sort of cooperating and no one's being greedy, and that creates economies and systems and ecosystems that flourish. Next one. So let me just set it up a little bit briefly. So in my in the feedback that I've gotten that it could be a healing modality from people, I'm starting to experiment and put it into places like hospitality and healthcare. So just last December at UCSD in La Jolla, we actually have introduced it in every room. It's a brand new $1 billion hospital, the Jacobs Medical Center. And being brand new, every room had a great digital display and had an iPad that kept the patient's records and controlled the lighting and the shades in the room. They're making the rooms more like a hotel, so it's less, intimidating. And then I suggested on the iPad we should have a question: where in the world would you love to go to be healed? Give patients a power of choice when choice has been taken away, especially from people like you, Kathy, that are always in control. So you want to give people who have to put all their faith and trust in a doctor a little bit of control. And so we're going to collect data to see what the results are, because I don't want to claim it's a healing modality without scientific data. I think it's going to obviously be positive. There's already been many studies that say art in hospitals, helps the caregivers, helps the patients. Gardens, super important.
Totally.
Being near a window, you heal faster. So this is just enabling patients, and maybe even people in assisted living or pediatric wards where kids are having chemo, to be able to be re-energized by the rhythms and patterns of nature.
Do you consider your films to be a visual meditation?
It is a visual meditation. I think it's actually visual healing. You don't have to think about it intellectually. You just have to, I think, let go and feel it emotionally.
We promised the audience different art. Hopefully for some of the people I stopped around to see tonight, you've seen some things that maybe you haven't seen before, quite beautiful art. But I think more importantly is like, what is next for Louie Schwartzberg? What is next for you?
Well, one is a Fantastic Fungi film,
Yes,
hopefully
of
by
course,
the end of the
January,
year.
can't wait.
And what's really amazing is I now have these moving art shows, episodes on Netflix. And it's kind of interesting how it started, because the door opened because they really didn't have any 4K content to demo their new streaming technology 2 years ago. So they used it at the Consumer Electronics Show. And then it became popular, and then he put it on Netflix. And guess what? The algorithms prove that people watch it every day.
Wow.
Which is incredible, because you don't watch a TV show every day, not the same show. So I think there's a shift in behavior throughout America and the world. I mean, with YouTube and social media and the amount of video that's being digested, where people, I think, are ready for a new story, a new form of storytelling, something like a song. It doesn't have to be a movie, it doesn't have to be a half-hour show, it doesn't have to have, you know, who stabbed who and who is taking advantage of who. People want, I think, inspiration and a little bit of a recharge. So this is a little teaser trailer.
So you've done one show on Netflix already.
We've done, well, we did four
series.
4 for season 1.
Right.
7 in season 2. And we have 6 more coming up in season 3. And what's cool about Netflix, if you play one, you can binge and it'll automatically load into the next.
It's pretty easy. Yeah, we got that
so you
down,
can just
don't we?
play it all day, and if you're not at the Golden Door.
So this is which one? What are we looking at
This is a
tonight?
montage of season 2.
Okay, good. Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Amazing. Did you get to go to all those places?
Yes, everything except the underwater.
Oh
I
my
shot.
gosh.
Yeah.
And so you're going to even more amazing places as it goes on.
Iceland, Galapagos.
Are you only doing geographic, or are you getting into buildings and art? That'd be interesting.
I might do that
You know what I
next.
mean?
Yeah,
It'd be really interesting.
I'm thinking of maybe doing like a city, like San Francisco.
like things that people would never get to see.
Yeah.
Give me like a great idea here.
Yeah.
So at the end of every one of our speakers, and tonight for you all, this was really different. Typically we have an interview, we don't have so much film, but there was just such profound film, right, tonight, to not share it with you would have just been a miss, and try to cut some out. Which one would we not show you? So I hope you appreciated this very different venue tonight. But at the end of all of our speaker series, we always ask the same question, and that is, Mr. Louie Schwartzberg, what golden nugget will you be giving to our guest tonight to take home? What piece of advice, what word or something can they remember for as long as they're here?
Well, I think being in nature makes you present, and when you're present, you're in the moment, and that's what all the modalities we practice at the Golden Door strives to do.